An ass grazing in a small meadow saw a wolf creep up on him, so he pretended to be lame. The wolf, coming nearer, asked why he was limping. The ass replied that he had been jumping over a fence and had landed on a thorn. He advised the wolf to pull it out before eating him to avoid piercing his mouth. The wolf let himself be persuaded. While he was lifting up the ass's foot and concentrating on the hoof, the ass, with a sharp kick in the jaw, knocked his teeth out. In a bad way, the wolf said, "I deserve what I got. For having learned from my father the art of butchery, why should I want to try my hand at medicine?" Thus, people who undertake things which are outside their abilities naturally bring themselves to disgrace. A man who intended to buy an ass took it on trial and led it to the manger to mix with his others. But the ass, turning its back on the others, went and stood beside the laziest and fattest of the lot. As it stood there and did nothing, the man put a halter on it and led it back to its owner. The owner asked the man if he had given it a fair trial, and he replied, "I don't need any further trial. I am certain of what he's like because of the companion he chose from among the lot." This fable shows that people judge us by the company we keep. The ass discovered that the horse had plenty to eat and was well groomed, while he himself didn't even have enough litter, even though he was so willing to work. But there came a time of war. The horse had to carry a horseman armed from head to foot, who urged him in every direction, and even forced him into the midst of the enemy, where the horse was pierced with blows and slaughtered. On realizing this, the ass changed his mind and pitied the horse. This fable shows that you shouldn't envy leaders or the rich, but think of the dangers to which they are exposed and resign yourself to poverty. An ass with a load of salt was crossing a stream. He slipped and fell into the water. Then the salt dissolved, and when he got up, his load was lighter than before, so he was delighted. Another time, when he arrived at the bank of a stream with a load of sponges, he thought that if he fell into the water again, when he got up, the load would be lighter. So he slipped on purpose. But of course, the sponges swelled up with the water, and the ass was unable to get up again, so he drowned and perished. Thus it is sometimes that people don't suspect that it is their own tricks which land them in disaster. An ass who had clothed himself in the skin of a lion went about the countryside frightening all the animals. He encountered a fox and tried to frighten him also. But the fox, who had heard his voice before, said to him, "You would have scared me too, there's no doubt about it, if I hadn't heard you bray." Thus, uneducated people who put on airs betray themselves by their longing to speak. An ass, who was carrying a statue of a god on its back, was being led into the town by a man. As the passers-by prostrated themselves in front of the statue, the ass imagined that it was he to whom they were making obeisance, and in his pride he started to bray and refused to go any further. The ass driver, guessing his thoughts, beat him with his club and said, "Poor brainless wretch." That really would be the limit, to see an ass adored by men. This fable shows that people who take an empty pride in the advantages of others become a laughingstock to those who know them. A wild ass which saw a domestic ass grazing in plenty of sunshine went up to it to compliment it on its plumpness and on the pasture which it enjoyed. But moments later, he saw it loaded with a burden and followed by the ass driver, who hit it with a club. So he called out to it, "Oh, I don't congratulate you anymore, for I can see that you pay a high price to enjoy your abundance." Thus, there is nothing to envy an advantage which is accompanied by danger and suffering. One day, the asses tired of suffering and carrying heavy burdens, and they sent some representatives to Zeus, asking him to put a limit on their workload. Wanting to show them that this was impossible, Zeus told them that they would be delivered from their misery only when they could make a river from their piss. The asses took this reply seriously, and, from that day until now, whenever they see ass piss anywhere, they stop in their tracks to piss too. This fable shows that one can do nothing to change one's destiny. One day, an ass and a cockerel were feeding together when a lion attacked the ass. The cockerel let out a loud crow, and the lion fled, for lions are afraid of the sound of a cock crowing. The ass, imagining that the lion was fleeing because of him, did not hesitate to rush after him. When he had pursued the lion for about the distance where a cock's crow could no longer be heard, the lion turned round and devoured him. As he was dying, the ass brayed, "What an unfortunate and stupid fellow I am! Why did I, who was not born to warlike parents, set out to fight? This fable shows that the enemy is often portrayed as of no consequence, but when we attack him, he destroys us.
A man owned a goat and a donkey. The donkey, lucky beast, got the good life. Fat meals, steady work, and the occasional affectionate pat. The goat, seething with jealousy. So one day, the goat sidled up to the donkey and said with a dramatic sigh, "Wow, pal, hauling heavy loads and grinding grain all day? Your life must be a never-ending nightmare. Ever thought of faking a seizure and face-planting into a ditch? Just to get a break?" The donkey, not the sharpest hoof in the barn, thought, sounds legit, and did exactly that. Flopped into a pit like a true thespian. The performance? Convincing. The result? Not so much. He ended up scraped, bruised, and very much not on vacation. The owner, seeing his prized donkey looking like he'd been through a medieval obstacle course, rushed to the vet. The vet, with zero chill, prescribed a traditional cure, goat lung stew. Just like that, the jealous goat went from drama queen to dinner prep.
The lion and the ass, having a pact between them, were out together hunting. Arriving at a cave where there were wild goats, the lion posted himself at the entrance to lie in wait for them to leave, while the ass went inside and started leaping about and braying in their midst to make them flee. When the lion had taken the largest of the wild goats, the ass came out and asked him if he hadn't bravely fought and pushed the goats outside. The lion replied, "I can assure you that even I would have been scared to death if I hadn't known that you were an ass." Thus, people who boast in front of those who know them deservedly lend themselves to mockery. The lion, the ass, and the fox, having made an agreement together, went off hunting for game. When they had taken plenty of game, the lion asked the ass to divide the spoils between them. The ass divided the food into 3 equal parts and invited the lion to choose his portion. The lion became enraged, pounced on the ass, and devoured him. Then the lion asked the fox to divide the spoils. The fox took all that they had accumulated and gathered it into one large heap, retaining only the tiniest possible morsel for himself. He then invited the lion to choose. The lion then said, "Well, my good fellow, who taught you to divide so well? You are excellent at it." The fox replied, "I learned this technique from the ass's misfortune." This fable shows that we learn from the misfortunes of others.